Hello friends, this is Worm, and I have made my triumphant return from the Bright Light City. Now, Bungie decided to drop an absolute megaton of great stuff on us while I was gone. So this is not like a first reaction or anything, but I'm going to talk about all of the new exotics that we currently know about, and just kind of, I guess, talk about my thoughts and opinions, because I see a lot of, I guess, negative feedback from these. And just something I want to remind players is that when Bungie does these reveals, they don't put like the full extent of the exotic into these, right? Like everybody like sees, you know, the Warlock exotic, which will be the first one we talk about here in a second, and they think, oh, that's kind of lame or whatever. There's probably going to be more to it than just what we see in a 20-second trailer, right? But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But with that being said, I want to talk about the first one. And the first one here is, we'll just go in the order they kind of launched. The Matadoxia, I think that's how you say it, until somebody provides me a correct pronunciation, that's how I'm going to say it. But Matadoxia, or Matadoxia, I don't know how I said it even. Matadoxia. Basically, it's going to allow players allow the Arcane Needle to create a suspending burst. Now, one of the big criticisms I saw for this exotic is that players are concerned and worried that you're going to have to use all three of melee abilities to actually get that suspending burst off. Here's the thing, guys, that's probably not going to be the way it works. Okay, like, let's just be honest with ourselves. There's no way Bungie would give us an exotic that requires all three melee charges to create a suspending burst. Here's how I think it'll work. I think that on bigger targets like the Unstoppable Ogre that they used it on in the actual trailer itself will require three melees, but I think that also if you get a kill with Arcane Needle, it will also create that suspending burst. Meaning, if there's an Unstoppable coming at you and you throw an Arcane Needle and you hit a Thrall and it kills the Thrall right next to that Unstoppable champion, it's probably going to create a suspending blast where that Thrall was killed by the Arcane Needle. I mean, that's just, to me, that makes sense. I could be wrong, but I would like to think that that's probably what Bungie is going to end up doing with that. So, you know, everybody that's underwhelmed by it, don't sit here and think like, oh, this is the best that they can do. Like, I guarantee you, there's going to be more to the exotic, and especially once we get to the weapons, that's where it's going to kind of even go further, right? But with that being said, that's Matadoxia. It looks like it's going to be a pretty good exotic, especially for suspend build warlocks. You could pair it with like the Wanderer. Maybe you could pair it with Mind Spun Invocation and a Shackle Grenade for just, you know, an insane amount of suspend, sorry, you know, or something like that. I think it's going to be a pretty decent exotic, especially in lower level content where those Arcane Needles are going to be able to, you know, get kills. Like I said, again, this is me anticipating that you're going to be able to create a suspending burst on a kill, not just on 3 rapid melee hits. But yeah, with that being said, I think it's also nice because now it does allow players to, if they don't want to build into Mind Spun Invocation, maybe you want to do the Wander, you can also have this. If you want to build into, you know, a Threadling build and then have this on backup just in case you need to suspend enemies, I think that's also something that could work pretty well. So I'm pretty excited for this exotic. It also looks really interesting, like the actual physical appearance of it looks pretty good. So that's that one. But moving on from there, we have Gifted Conviction. Is that what it is? Yeah, Gifted Conviction. And Gifted Conviction is the upcoming Hunter exotic that is going to basically allow your arc, or as it says in the video, arc aspects to create explosive projectiles. Now, this is the one I'm kind of most concerned about, or I shouldn't say concerned about, the one I'm kind of most curious about, I guess, because this one, it seems very interesting, and they only really showed it off with 2 of the aspects. So of course, we know that with Final Shape, we're gonna have a total of 4 arc aspects for the Hunter: Flow State, Lethal Current, Tempest Strike, and then I can't remember the name of it, but the new one that allows you to like twirl your little blade, flap in the air, make people amplified and whatnot. But with that being said, the arc projectiles, of course, in the videos, they look very strong. You know, you jump up in the air and you twirl your little blade or your little staff, you throw out 3 of them and it makes these arc explosions. This looks like they could be pretty cool, but it's going to depend really on how, number one, how strong the projectiles are, but also how much chaining potential that they have. Because the way it looks in the video is whenever the enemies are killed, by the little arc projectile explosion, they also then explode, kind of like chain reaction. And I think that this could potentially have some really good synergy with the arc aspects. And I think it's nice because it's not tied to one specific, one specific aspect. Like, you can do it with anything. You can combo this with any of the arc aspects that you wanted to. And I'm really curious to see how it's going to work with flow state and lethal current. Is it going to be something like maybe a bombardier's, when you dodge, you'll be able to create some of those explosions. Maybe whenever you get, a melee off, with lethal current, it'll make some of those little exploding projectiles. Like, I don't know how it's going to happen, or I don't know if Bungie's maybe going to ship it with the ability to only synergize with the two aspects that we saw. That would be probably the biggest letdown, honestly, because I'm not a big fan of using Tempest Strike, and I'm not really sure how I'm gonna be feeling about using the newest aspect for Arc Hunter until I actually get it in my hands and can, try it. But with that being said, that's Gifted Conviction. It looks pretty neat. Like I said, it's nice that it doesn't synergize with just one arc aspect. Like, it's the whole arc subclass for Hunter, so I guess it makes sense. But let's move on to the next one, which is the new Titan exotic armor piece, Hazardous Propulsion. And man, this is my favorite of the bunch because this looks super cool. So Hazardous Propulsion, it states that casting your class ability creates rockets. Just to sum it up, I can't remember exactly what it says, but it creates rockets, and you see it, and they use thruster. Titan uses thruster, and it creates those little rockets, and they pop the rally barricade, and it creates those little rockets, and those rockets come up, and they have tracking. Now, one of the first things to point out about this, of course, it is not it's not subclass specific, so you can use this on anything, unlike something like Matidoxia or Gifted Conviction that you can only use with Stranded Arc. You can use this on any subclass, which I think is super cool. And I'm already getting, some ideas in my head. Okay, how can we make the fastest barricade cooldown possible so that we can just constantly launch those little micro rockets all over the place? It just looks like a lot of fun. Of course, I am curious to know about the damage that they do. I don't think that they're going to deal an insane amount of damage. Like, they're not going to nuke a champion or anything like that. But I am curious to see how much damage they'll be doing. Hopefully, it will be a decent amount of damage. Hopefully, that whenever you're using your class ability on something, like, you are going to get a fat chunk of damage. Now, I think that Bungie could be pretty conservative with this at first because it's not difficult to get the Titan class ability back. And if you pop like a rally barricade, you're already getting the benefits from the rally barricade on top of the rockets. Like, I think it would be different if maybe they totally switched it out. They switched the class ability out for the rockets, instead of when you put your barricade down or when you use your thruster, you do a stance or something, fire rockets from your back, something like that. Like, then I think they could be stronger. But because you're getting the benefits of the class ability as well as the rockets, I think the rockets damage is probably going to be on the lower side for now. But again, we'll have to just test it out. I am still excited to see how it's going to work. I'm also curious to see if Bungie gives it some sort of really intense tracking. Obviously, it does have tracking, but from the little clip that they showed us, it looks like your rockets are just basically going to track one target. I'm not sure which target it's going to track. If it's going to be the nearest, if it's going to be the strongest, or if it's going to be the one that you're currently aiming at. I'm not really sure what it's going to be, but just some crazy ideas I had for it. Number one, if they gave it a similar effect to something like Eyes of Tomorrow, where you could lock onto multiple different targets, that way when you activate it, it'll shoot those missiles at a bunch of different targets. I think that would be really cool. I think it would also be very interesting if the exotic chest piece somehow amplified our rocket launchers. Obviously, in the trailer that we saw, there was like a little scene where the Titan switches to a rocket launcher, and then it kind of does this like first person following the rocket's path to hit an enemy. I'm almost wondering if they're going to just give it a side benefit of maybe like when you're standing behind the rally barricade, all launchers gain tracking or something like that. Like, I don't know, maybe that's a little bit out there, but I think that would just build into the exotic kind of nicely. It's just like a nice little, hey, it's a built around missiles. Here you go. Here's just a little tiny bit of extras to help your rocket launchers. But Hazardous Propulsion is looking pretty awesome. Oh, one more thing. I think a lot of people I've seen on social media have been talking about synergizing with Gjallarhorn. I don't think it's going to synergize with Gjallarhorn. Gjallarhorn specifically states that it grants legendary rockets wolf pack rounds, not wood pack, wolf pack rounds. So I don't see this synergizing with Gallarhorn. But yeah, that's hazardous propulsion. Again, all three of these exotics look really interesting. The one I'm most excited for is hazardous propulsion. But let's go ahead and talk about the weapons now, starting off with the Kvostov SG, what is it? SG0X, something like that. Finally, one of the things that we had in Destiny 1, we had the Kvostov, and we had an exotic version of it. So for those of you who don't know or don't remember, the Kvostov is the very first common tier weapon you get in Destiny 2, or Destiny 1 for that matter. When you're going into the Cosmodrome, you pick one up, and it doesn't have any perks on it. The sight's kind of broken. It's just it's a standard auto rifle. But a lot of people liked that in Destiny 1, and they wanted to see an exotic version of it. So it was brought into Destiny 1 as an exotic. Kept the same name and everything, but it was brought in as an exotic. And of course in Destiny 1, its exotic trait was like you could basically customize it to be whatever you wanted. It could be an auto rifle, it could be a scout rifle, it could be a pulse rifle, it could be a high fire rate auto rifle, or it could be a low fire rate auto rifle. It could be a high rate of fire burst pulse rifle, low rate of fire burst, you know, all kinds of stuff. Very interesting, but it never really filled a niche because it was just a weapon that you could make whatever you wanted. It didn't have any unique perks or anything like that. And I think that Bungie kind of learned from their Destiny 1 mistake with the Kvostov in Destiny 2, because in Destiny 2, they've given it a whole different perk, or a whole different identity, I guess. And basically, from what we know currently, every 7th bullet that's fired out of the Kvostov is going to ricochet, and it looks like it's going to be ricocheting from enemy to enemy, and it's going to have a pretty large degree of tracking. This could be really, really cool. I'm really excited to see how this works. Maybe they'll keep the whole identity of being able to switch between, you know, pulse rifles and stuff like that. Maybe they'll keep that. I don't see that happening. I think it's probably going to stay an auto rifle, but I am curious to see, number one, how much damage that ricochet bullet does. Of course, in the trailers, they make it look like it's crazy powerful. I don't think it's going to be as powerful. I think that they probably set up those enemies to have low health so that they would all intentionally die by the Kvostov shot. But I don't know. We'll have to see how much damage it does. Also, we'll have to see what its other perk is. So of course, almost every exotic in Destiny 2 has 2 unique perks. It has the intrinsic perk and the unique perk. I am curious to see what the Kvostov's unique perk is going to be, because that's of course going to set the tone for the weapon. Obviously, we know the 7th bullet's going to ricochet. That's pretty cool. It's a kinetic weapon, so maybe it gets kinetic trimmers, but it could also get something really unique, something that also builds into that 7th bullet. Maybe every time the 7th bullet ricochets off an enemy, it reloads 5 rounds back into the magazine or something like that. I don't know. We'll just have to see what it has, but it's looking so good. It looks like it's going to be a fun weapon. Of course, it's about time we had this weapon return to Destiny 2. And also, just one more thing, they're using the I can't remember the name of it, but I think it's called like the Fields of Light ornaments for Kvostov, which was my favorite ornament back in Destiny 1, and they just brought it back in here. So hallelujah. I absolutely love the Kvostov. I love that it's returning, and I hope that it's going to hit that power level that is, you know, going to bring the excitement, so to speak. But moving on, let's talk about the next weapon, which is the Microcosm. This is an exotic heavy trace rifle. Now, this is something that we've never had in Destiny 2. Right, we've never had an exotic heavy trace rifle, so this is going to be first of its kind. How much ammo it's going to have is one of the things I'm wondering about. Like, is it going? There's no way it's going to have as much ammo as something like Cold Hearts or, you know, Wave Split or something like that. Like, there's just, I don't see that happening. But how much ammo it's going to be able to hold is something I am interested to see. Also, the magazine size. Of course, historically, our trace rifles have larger magazines, anywhere from like 97 to 194, depending up there, 194, and I think 97 is Cold Heart, which is the lowest. Anyways, look, it doesn't matter. But with that being said, I don't think they're going to give this like a 90 or 100 round magazine. Like, I think that we're probably looking at like a 60 round magazine, and then maybe have like 2 or 3 magazines on reserve, again, depending on its power. Now, its exotic trait, it says that it deals massive damage to enemy shields. And I knew when I saw this was going to upset players, because players are going to say, oh, well, we already have under over in the game. We already have, you know, insert whatever damage type to enemy shields. So why would I use this? Again, This is like Bungie's, I think they're intentionally being vague here. They're not giving us the full picture because there's no way they're going to release an exotic heavy weapon that just, hey, here's big damage to enemy shields, woohoo, right? It's like I just don't see that happening. Now, an interesting thing about Microcosm, and I could be just, maybe this is, I don't know, maybe this is me being crazy or something, but it looks like in the trailer, the weapon is dealing different damage types. Like the first kill that it's getting here, it looks like it's void. The beam looks purple, but upon like that second, like the second shot, like there's a brief, like a literally like 1 frame moment where the enemies that's the player that's using Microcosm is shooting with Microcosm are erupting into like strand. And I don't know if this is maybe just they're unraveled, you know, from unraveling rounds or something like that, but could this have like a way to switch through all 5 different damage types? Maybe. I think that could be really cool. Also, if you hear something in the background, my neighbor's mowing right outside the window. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But with Microcosm, like, I think that is going to be stronger than people are believing. And I think that Bungie is intentionally showing off that, oh, it's only going to do massive damage to enemy shields because they want players to kind of downplay it. That way on launch, it's insanely strong. Right, so that's Microcosm. I say we've got to give it a chance because it's going to have another perk that accompanies its massive damage to shields. That's probably going to make it a very, very strong weapon. And again, I mean, just like with Winterbite, like Winterbite is an exotic glaive. People were looking at like, oh, like why would I use Winterbite? Because, you know, why wouldn't I just use a legendary or an exotic glaive and, you know, have my energy or my heavy slot be able to use whatever I want? Then Winterbite came out, we saw how strong it was. It had to be nerfed a couple of times, and it's still incredibly powerful. This weapon, I feel like, could be the same way. But one last thing to point out here, did y'all notice that the Microcosm looks like it has like swords attached to it? Like the barrel of the weapon looks like Nazaridan, like the sword. But yeah, let's move on to the last one that we currently know about, and I have a feeling there are going to be some more reveals coming up over the next couple of weeks. But this is the Still Hunt exotic sniper rifle, and this is the exotic that I think a lot of people were really excited about when Bungie teased it, being this golden gunshot. And here's what I'm gonna say about this: Still Hunt and Zen Meteor are the same weapon. Okay, Zen Meteor was a weapon from Destiny 1. You can go look up what it does and stuff. But Still Hunt basically states that you charge up the weapon and it will deal a golden gun shot. This is pretty neat. Don't get me wrong. This allows you to use golden gun on Warlock or Titan, which is pretty cool. But the thing that I'm really, really, really curious about is, will this weapon stack with Celestial Nighthawk? Will it? Because that would be absolutely crazy, right? Because it does specifically say charge up to fire a golden gun shot. It doesn't say a high damage shot. It doesn't say a super shot. It says a golden gun shot. Bungie is very particular when they choose their words. Okay, if they say golden gun shot, they mean it's going to fire like a golden gun. Does this mean that the golden gun shot will create orbs of power whenever it gets a kill? Does this mean it will stack with, you know, things like Celestial Nighthawk if you're using Celestial Nighthawk and Still Hunt? Will you have basically 2 Celestial Nighthawk shots for a boss damage phase? I don't know, but I'm kind of hoping that, yeah, that would be really awesome to have Celestial Nighthawk on your hunter. You pop your super, boom, shoot the boss, make a bunch of orbs, deal a bunch of damage, then you pull out Still Hunt, pop its sniper rifle or its golden gun form, boom, another big damage shot. Like, I think that would be really awesome. And I think that actually, if you did that, you might see this replace Thunder Crash for Atrax damage. Look, that's neither here nor there though, but yeah, that's Still Hunt. Again, I think that this is going to be a really, really cool weapon. I think it's going to be niche too. I just feel like exotic snipers in Destiny 2, they're so niche, you know. Cloud Strike is fun, but really, like, when are you using Cloud Strike? You know, Izanagi's Burden is fun, but again, like, how often are you really using Izanagi's for, you know, day-to-day content? Like, yeah, like I know in like raids and stuff like that. Maybe this takes place in one of those roles. You know, this is a raid weapon where you get your golden gun shot off. Also, one of the big things I'm wondering about is, how is this going to differentiate itself from Izanagi's Burden? Of course, Izanagi's Burden, I think the primary difference between these is Izanagi's Burden's damage boost is on like kind of demand. You know, you can, okay, I'm gonna put in my 4-shot, my honed edge ×4. right now so I can use it. This is one you have to build up. So I would imagine that Still Hunt would have more damage than Izanagi's Burden, which I don't actually know the base damage of like Honed Edge ×4 versus a Golden Gun, but I don't know which is technically stronger. But this gun's gonna have to have something that gives it that edge over Izanagi's Burden because it has a little bit more of a difficult use factor. You know, it's not just like you could be, you know, sit there in a well and reload 5 times and get a super shot. Like you have to get other kills and stuff like that. But yeah, hey guys, Editorial Worm here, and I am not sure if my mind is playing tricks on me or something, but in terms of the super shot from Still Hunt, I don't know about y'all, but does it look like orbs are coming out of the enemies when they're killed with that golden gun shot? Because it does look like it. I can't tell if it's glimmer, because I know there's glimmer coming out of the enemies, but I can't tell if it's glimmer or if it's like a low resolution orb. I'm gonna have it playing on the screen right now and kind of have some arrows pointing at what I'm talking about here. I can't tell, but again, it would be amazing if, because Still Hunt is classed as like a super, you know, it's a golden gun, if it creates orbs on kills, that would be another amazing thing. But I just wanted to point that out real quick. Again, I saw this while I was editing the video, and I want y'all's opinions. Do you think these are orbs? Do you think this is just glimmer? But yeah, back to it. That's all that we've seen so far. Of course, it's been a wonderful Friday. Hope y'all have had a great week. Sorry I've been gone. Hope you enjoyed the 2 videos I had scheduled to upload. I made those last Friday, so yeah, didn't want y'all to be completely without. But yeah, that's basically all of the exotics we currently know about that are coming with, and kind of my thoughts on them. Guys, remember, Bungie is intentionally being vague. These perks here, there's probably going to be more to it than meets the eye, so just remember that. But with that being said, I want to hear your thoughts on all of these neat weapons and armor pieces. Do you like them? Do you not like them? What are you hoping for? You know, what are you most nervous about for these, and all that stuff. But yeah, with that being said, like the video, helps channel out a lot. Subscribe for more daily Destiny content, and guys, do me a favor, watch the videos you see here on the end screen, because for whatever reason YouTube thinks you'll like them. See y'all next time. Bye for now.